Minas Gerais não é só história, é o presente e o futuro do Brasil. Eu sou Pablo Spire, economista, e vim falar para você, empreendedor, que Minas é uma grande opção de investimento e que conta com o maior programa de formação técnica do país, o Trilhas de Futuro. Então não esqueça, na hora de investir, pense mais, pense Minas, vem pra cá, avança, Tourinho! Acesse penseminas.com.br e saiba mais. Minas Gerais, governo diferente, estado eficiente.
Before we dive into today's episode, I want to share something special I've been working on. If you are someone who's tired of feeling like there's never enough time for the things you care about, my Magic Hour workshop is for you. It is a live 2-hour session where I'll help you uncover hidden pockets of time, clean up your schedule, and build an hour a day to focus on what truly lights you up. This isn't about productivity. It is about reclaiming your time and creating a life that feels aligned and exciting. Spots are limited, so head over to myleak.com to sign up. It's on the About page. Let's make this your year of transformation. Hey guys, this is Myleak and this is the podcast. And today I'm hoping to hit you with a quick and dirty episode about consistency, and maybe I can debunk some of these myths that I believe and I'm now learning that have made the idea of consistency and discipline overwhelming for some people. So you can open any of your favorite apps any day of the week and see quotes and gurus talking about consistency. You have to be consistent. Discipline, discipline, discipline. And if you have followed me for any amount of time, you know I'm not shy when it comes to discipline. But as I continue working with more people, more insights arise for me. And I'm realizing that it's not, people are reading this in a very straightforward approach. And there's a ton of nuance that isn't always being discussed when it comes to consistency and maybe some discipline. So I want to talk about that with you today. And my hope with this podcast is to redefine consistency for you in a world obsessed with perfection and hustle. Think I might have something gentler and more sustainable. You tell me. You probably have picked up this self-compassion that has grown within me and I'm wanting to share with others. There was a time in my life when I was really hard on myself. And in some ways, you know, I'm like, well, it worked. And I'm like, well, is that true? I did get a lot of things done, but I now realize that I didn't have to be as hard on myself to get it done. And that is what I want to pass on to you. This doesn't have to be something that is so, I don't know what the word is, but just so heavy and doesn't feel good. And then you can't keep up with it or you don't have a desire to stick with it because we're just being too hard on ourselves. So I'm hoping that maybe we can find ways to reduce some of this guilt that you have when you don't keep up with some things or burnout after you've done whatever it is every day, and maybe just lower some of the pressure. Okay. That's what I'm hoping for. So I want to highlight some of the things that you may have seen that have likely landed in your psyche. Many of us fall into an all or nothing trap of having to do something every single day to show our commitment. We watch these stories and movies of high achievers who often focus on these films often focus on these relentless daily efforts, athletes who practice every day, writers who write every morning. These stories can be inspiring, but they fail to consider individual circumstances or sustainability. I can't tell you how many things that I've seen where, you know, I'm not going to say which pop star people compare themselves to, saying they have the same 24 hours a day as that person. And I'm like, we all have 24 hours, but we don't have 24 hours with sort of this stealth build to get as much done as one can. So, yeah, we have the same 24 hours, but how many people do you have that are available to watch your children? How many of us have meals being prepared for us? How many of us has someone doing the actual grocery shopping? How many of us have someone driving us to our performance or whatever it is, our practice that we're doing? There's a lot of nuance and context that we don't always know about. A lot of times, even some of our favorites that we follow, just someone who's been in this space for a long time, I will meet someone and there's an idea that I had of how they were getting all these things done. And then they'll say, well, my mom lives with me, or like my mother-in-law lives with me, or my sister lives with me. And it's like, oh, so that's how you're able to get up and make a fresh 5-course breakfast every morning, because there are some things that we don't see. And it's like, this doesn't necessarily have to be our business, but we don't always see what is happening when we start comparing our quote unquote 24 hours, right? And I also want to talk about some of these habit tracking products, right? There's a good friend that I follow, and I think she's up to she has to be at an 800. She's got to be on her 800th day soon of Duolingo. We all love Peloton because you're on a streak. And while I get it, this is not the only way to be consistent. A more sustainable approach that I want to share today considers your capacity, your rhythm, and your rest. Okay. And the pressure, we can relieve some of the pressure of just knowing you aren't going to do it every day, or most days, so that you don't get discouraged from starting. I don't know people like that, but what I'm saying is that I've worked with people who won't begin things because they are going to be traveling for work. Well, I don't want to start, I don't want to start eating healthy this month because I'm traveling for work 2 weeks and I just don't know. And it's like, well, okay, you're traveling for work this month. What are some small ways that you can continue to beat this drum while you're gone? Maybe you aren't going to have the home cooked meals, but I don't want you to be discouraged from starting because your kid's sports season is going to begin soon. And we're just not going to be doing this. Okay. So let's redefine consistency a little bit. A few weeks ago, I hosted my Magic Hour workshop, which I'm hosting again. So check my site. I'm going to do it monthly for a while now. And someone asked me, what is the number one reason, my league, that you see people aren't consistent with this framework that I shared about how to create your magic hour? People are like, okay, you knocked this out, but why might someone not be consistent? And I said, the number one reason that I've seen is that people have it ingrained that something must be done daily or in the same pattern or for the same length of time in order for it to be considered consistent. I go to the gym a few days a week. I have a particular length of time that I like to stay, but some days, depending on how my life is going, I can only do 30 minutes. And I go anyway because that counts. Sometimes I miss full weeks, like I'll miss a full week due to travel or life, and I'm back the next week or in 2 weeks when I can without beating myself up. I flex the number of days up and down as it fits my life and my schedule. And that is really the main reason why I see some people not be consistent, is that if they make a schedule and they say they're going to do it this day, and then they don't, then they just drop it all together. And so let's talk about some examples of approaches that you could take that could be successful that don't require daily commitment. Think about what you're doing, what you want to get done, and try to find a new rhythm for it. So instead of daily, what about a day on it? And I use that for a lot of things. I use that for exercise. Like, I am not going back-to-back days. I don't care, So I usually do day on, day off. Sometimes even with my retainer, it's like I'll do days on, at least a day or so off, just because even that gets to be like, I'm going to be consistent about wearing my retainer, but I don't wear my retainer to bed every night. We'll see how that works out for me, but that's just my approach. What about bi-weekly over weekly? Sometimes you want to do it every week, but what if you took a break 1 week? Another idea is to set a number of times that you want to do it that week. So let's just say you're not a day on, day off person. What if you say, I'm going to do it 2-3 days this week? And if you are feeling it Monday through Wednesday, boom, done. Or if you're going to knock it all out Wednesday through Friday, this is your life, your rhythm. Nobody gets to tell you how to be consistent, Something else you can think about is pick a day or a week or some hours to batch things. Something I'm testing with my work is taking every 6 to 8 weeks, I'm trying to do like a full week off. I'm finding my rhythm, that I don't have a problem stacking up my calendar for, I feel like 8 weeks is my absolute cutoff, where it's just like I have to take everything off my schedule for at least a week. Sometimes I'll do it earlier so that I don't even get tired with 6 weeks, but you can find your rhythm of how you like to do things. There are certain days of the week that I just am more energized, and so I see more people on certain days of the week. There are days that I know, like Fridays are like creativity, I feel like Monday is more my hardcore business admin day, because that's just like, I'm back in the office. I've had my coffee. It's Monday, so Monday might be my full admin day, and Friday might be my creativity day or my community day, like a day where I spend time either in my Leak and Mama's community or just anything, my IG live, those are just how I find ways to do things where I can try to keep a rhythm. And this doesn't have to happen every week. Every Monday doesn't have to be admin, and every Friday doesn't have to be this, but I kind of know how to, and this is another one, match my energy levels with the things that I want to do. So I would go out on a limb and say that I have notoriously been a disciplined and consistent person. And I believe it started with this fridge magnet that I bought early in my 20s. I think it was just around maybe 22, 23 when I was living in my apartment in Inglewood. I think I had like one couch, no coffee table, no furniture. I think I had a bed, a dresser, and a couch and some pots. And I knew this wasn't the life I wanted, but I genuinely did not know how to get out of it. And I remember going to one of those like gift shops where they have all those like cards. I love a good gift card, candle, fridge magnet, tchotchkes, pens, pencils, journals. I love those stores. And I found this fridge magnet, and I looked it up because I was like, I wondered if I can find it to share with you guys. I'll drop it in the notes. But I found this magnet with this poem that I'm going to read to you. Take what you need. But this poem that I kept on my fridge probably until I left Inglewood I think I left around 29, but it's called Promise Yourself by Christian D. Larson. And it's promise yourself to be so strong that nothing can disturb your peace of mind, to talk health, happiness, and prosperity to every person you meet, to make all your friends feel that there is something in them, to look at the sunny side of everything and make your optimism come true, to think only the best, to work only for the best, and to expect only the best, to be just as enthusiastic about the success of others as you are about your own, to forget about the mistakes of the past and press on to the greater achievements of the future, to wear a cheerful countenance at all times and give every living creature you meet a smile, to give so much time. This was me right here. To give so much time to the improvement of yourself that you have no time to criticize others. To be too large for worry, too noble for anger, too strong for fear, and too happy to permit the presence of trouble. Now that I've done a bunch of anxiety work, we can nix that line, but I get it. To think well of yourself and to proclaim this fact to the world, not in loud words, but great deeds. To live in faith that the whole world is on your side, so long as you are true to the best that is in you. I believed this poem with my whole heart and soul. I read this aloud, not every day, but a lot of days. And this was before I had regular therapy. The idea that I would dedicate so much time improving myself that I wouldn't have time to criticize others, and believing that the world was in fact on my side, kept me beating my drum every day. Because while you can't always make big moves every day, you can do these little micro moves, right? Choosing, like when you're working for the best, being enthusiastic about the success of others as you are your own, giving a smile, living in faith, and staying true to the best that is in you. Those are all ways to be consistent that you don't have to check off every day. It's a way to be consistent in your choices and a way to be consistent at your core, if you get what I'm saying. Okay? So a couple of things that I want you to keep in mind: find your rhythm. Experiment with timing. Do I need to do it first thing in the morning, or will this work better midday? I know a lot of people can do things in the late evening, but there's all this research and studies, and I didn't look it up because I've talked about it multiple times on this podcast, but you just lose willpower as the day goes on. I think the reason why a lot of people, I get up at 4:30, not every day. I probably get up at 4:30 anywhere from 1 to 3 mornings a week, maybe 1 to 4 if you count the weekend. So I usually get up 4:30, 1 to 3 or 4 mornings. And on those days, I have a burst because I can get a lot done, because you just lose more willpower as the day goes on. The research shows that's why there's more car accidents at night. There's just more crime at night, is that our ability to stick with things and do the right thing starts to decline over the course of the day. Try batching. Pick lumps of time to get things done. I recently went away for the weekend to get a bunch of stuff done. It was the holiday break, the kids were home, snow day, and I looked up and I was like, oh no. I need 5 hours over 2 days to get a ton done. 10 hours, I can get a ton done. Try some time blocking. I do that a lot. I actually worked with a coach, I want to say maybe 3 years ago. I worked with a coach who really taught me how to block my time, which I think I was pretty good at, but the way they kind of just plus that up for me, super helpful. Theme days, I talked about that. Is it your marketing Monday? What is it that you do? I love having rituals. What things can you do to signal something starting? In my office, I have this cute little incense bowl. I don't even know, I feel like I got it as a gift, a client. One of my clients sent it to me as a thank you. And I love this gold incense bowl. And there's something about lighting an incense. And this particular incense it has a particular burn time. It's not long and the scent is short. And it's kind of just like a snap, the day is starting. Or I use it on the days that I'm coaching of just snap, set the mood. Something else that I think people forget to do in the spirit of consistency is celebrate your small wins in healthy ways to stay motivated, right? Set a goal and something to look forward to. When I get this done in this time, I'm going to do, buy, go, grab, call, who, what, when, right? Not finally, this is my last thing that I want to talk about in this podcast today. Because y'all love the word normalize today. Can we normalize taking a break from something? Can we do that? Can we normalize breaks? I think if you've been listening to this podcast, I have normalized breaks, right? I think I have taken months off at times, and I have taken full years off at times and came back what's up? Let's normalize taking a break. Let's normalize some setbacks, right? Things happen. And sometimes it's a setback, or sometimes it's just life. There was a period of time when I didn't record this podcast because I genuinely had nothing to say. Not in nobody did anything to me, but I think I was dealing with so many other things in my life. It was just these things really need my attention. And I don't have to just show up here to say something because people look forward to this podcast on every Tuesday or whatever day it is that it's dropping. It's let's normalize taking a break. Let's normalize things setting us back. And if you want some tips on how to restart something because you have guilt or shame that you stopped. I know there's somebody here that's listening that started an Instagram page for a business that they quit or an idea. You know, somebody who was podcasting, but then they stopped, or did have a website or a blog or a newsletter and then they stopped, or you were doing the Pilates class or whatever, but you stopped. You can restart. Think about what caused the break. What was it that caused the break? Ensure that you address the cause, right? Versus the symptom. What caused this? Next, start really small and build that momentum. You know, you don't have to come back full steam. I think some of you probably remember when I took, a year plus off of my podcast. It's like, you know what? I'm going to come back. I'm going to start small. I'm going to do short episodes. Like, you can rebuild momentum over time. And just the idea of starting over, I was thinking about that, and I've talked about this ad nauseum with my therapist of just when we, and this is, I have her to thank for this, but she just always reminds me that like it's almost beginning again. You get to begin again, but this time with more knowledge. So if you stop something, you were doing the podcast and then you stopped it, you are beginning again with more knowledge of what rhythm works best for you. When I first did this podcast, there was no schedule. It was when I felt like it. You know, some days I dropped 2-3 episodes in a week because I was that fired up. Now they have all this technology that you can schedule things and put it in the, I have been fired up and recorded 3 podcasts in a week, but now I can schedule those out over the 3 weeks. So you can do something like that too, but begin again with more knowledge and begin again with the idea that you can do whatever you want to do. If you don't want to send your newsletters on Friday or on the same beat, send them when you feel like it. Send them when you feel like it. You get to do that. So I want you to take a minute. I'm going to come down because sometimes I get fired up. But I want you to ask yourself, or I'm going to ask you, where are you holding yourself to impossible daily standards? And how can you adjust to show up more sustainably? Let's do a challenge. And if you do the challenge, you know I love to be tagged. Please go ahead and do that. I love to see what you're doing. But pick one area of your life that you want to show up to regularly, not daily, but regularly this week, and just see how it feels, even if you only do it once. Okay? Remember that consistency isn't necessarily about doing something every day. It's about finding a rhythm you can ride with and showing up in a way that feels good. That isn't perfect because we all know that no such thing exists. I want to thank you for tuning in today. If you enjoyed this episode, I'd love for you to share it. Share it with a friend who might need to hear this. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast so that you never miss an episode. And if this resonated with you, ratings and reviews help spread the word. And if you are thinking of taking things to the next level, let's work together. You can go to myleak.com to learn about all that I do, coaching programs, workshops, resources to help you create a life you love. Until next time, keep showing up for yourself.